Hi, I'm Seymour Wasserstrum, and today I've asked attorney Joe O'Neil to join me in this video. Joe, I want to say thanks for coming to join us. In fact, I actually came to Joe's office. We're videotaping this at Joe's office, and that's only about 2 minutes from my office. And the reason I wanted to have Joe with me is because I wanted my clients to be knowledgeable of who Joe is, because Joe is an expert at personal injury law. He also is an expert at criminal law. But in particular, the reason I've had an affiliation with Joe for a number of years is because of the fact that I have a lot of clients that get injured in car accidents. Maybe they're hurt on the job at work, and maybe they have a slip and fall or a dog bite. These are all kind of cases where our goal is to get our clients as much money as possible for their injuries. And really, the attorney you have representing you makes it different. When we represent someone who's injured in an accident, such as a car accident, slip and fall, all kind of accidents where they sustain many different types of injuries, our goal is always to get the best result for our client. By best result, I mean obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, because a lot of people don't realize that they can get money for their injuries. So when you're hurt in a car accident and there's an issue of what they call liability, meaning whose fault it is. Let's say you're stopped at a stop sign, you're rear-ended, you're seriously injured. Chances are you're entitled to get money for your injuries. Question is, how much money? Well, I think the answer is, the better you are represented by the top attorneys, I think you can get a much better result. And that's why, over the last few years, I've started an affiliation with Joe O'Neil, who's right down the street from my office. And when I get somebody that's injured in an accident, one of the first things I do is, after interviewing and meeting the client, is get Joe's office on the phone, because we work together. So let me just tell you who Joe is. Joe's been practicing attorney for, I'll tell you what, let's let Joe tell you who he is, because he knows a lot better than me. So Joe, take over and tell my listeners and video people here who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then I'll ask you some questions that hopefully will establish how we can help to get the best results for people that are injured in an accident.
It's important, ladies and gentlemen, to select the correct attorney for your case. And the correct attorney depends on what is involved with your case, because all lawyers, or even any lawyers, cannot be especially proficient in all different areas of the law. Like Mr. Wasserstrum here is known as the best attorney for bankruptcy in the area. And he's got that way because he's not only a hard worker, but he's a smart worker, and he knows the law. And that's what you have to look for in selecting an attorney to handle any kind of a case. And here today we're talking basically about personal injury cases. So that you should remember that the best lawyers get the best results, because they not only want to help people who need that kind of help, but they also realize that the more money they get for their clients, the more money the lawyers make out of those cases. So that in order to determine how much value a case has, you first have to look at the issue of liability. Who's at fault, and to what extent that person's at fault, whether it's a car accident, as Mr. Washington points out, or a slip and fall case, or a medical malpractice case, or any case in which someone is hurt by virtue of someone else's negligence, basically, whether it's a defective product or a faulty operation by a doctor, or whatever kind of case we're talking about. You first want to get the best, because the best will do what's best for you.
That's poetry. That's great, Joe. Okay. Probably clients are concerned about fees, payment of medical bills, and things like that. So why don't we discuss, what does the client have to pay if they hire a personal injury attorney such as you or me, and what kind of results can we get them as far as payment of medical bills? Maybe they lost time from work, things of that nature.
Well, first thing we want to do is to make the person well. In fact, I tell people there are two important things in handling this case. One is getting you back to good health, and two, building the case so that you are entitled to as much money as we can get for you. And there's a twofold purpose in that. One purpose is we feel it's an ethical obligation to get as much money as we can for each person who is hurt through the negligence of someone else. And two, we have a right to be paid in accordance with the laws set down by the state Supreme Court. All lawyers get the same fees. You don't get any money until you get money first for the client. In choosing your lawyer, it's very important for you to learn who is best qualified to handle that particular kind of case. So like Mr. Wasserstrum, to my left here, is very, very well known as being the best bankruptcy lawyer in the whole area. He and I have worked on some big personal injury cases also. Now, it's important in determining who should be your lawyer that you select someone who is most qualified, the person who will do the best job for you, because the best job should result in the highest amount of recovery by way of a settlement or a jury award. So once you've selected your lawyer, you want to listen up so that the lawyer will tell you how the case is going to proceed. He will tell you, or she will tell you, that there are two main concepts that you have to explore with a lawyer. One is the issue of liability. Who's at fault? Who should be made responsible for injuries accidentally suffered? The second is damages. How much is that injury worth? And that depends on a number of factors that go into making that decision. But first you've got to get somebody you can rely upon, someone who will be honest with you and will put forth his or her best effort toward getting the most amount of money possible for your injury.
One of the most impressive things that always got to me as far as Joe's concerned is the way he prepares his cases, and he's not afraid to take a case to trial. A lot of lawyers are just thrilled to settle a case because basically it's easy money for them. They get a third of whatever the settlement is, and the case is over, the client gets whatever the client gets, and that's it. A lot of lawyers are just afraid, really, to go to trial. I know, Joe, you've got a tremendous amount of trial experience. You're not afraid to go to court. You've gone to court so many times. You've gotten so many verdicts, and I know you got an excellent settlement for one of my clients recently where it was a serious injury, and you were ready to go to court, but you were able to settle it for about $1 million. And I know my client was thrilled with that. And I guess when the insurance companies know you're not afraid to go to court, that will affect the way they negotiate with you, because they know that if they go to trial, anything can happen, and they respect you more, and they're probably going to give you a bigger settlement because of your reputation. Am I right?
Well, that just happened last week. It turned out that the insurance company adjuster was working for a supervisor who had a case against me many years ago, and the supervisor convinced the claims representative to settle the case because of her experience with me. She had hung in tough with a low offer to settle a case, and we went to trial and got a good verdict, and so she was sensitive to that in telling her adjuster how to negotiate with me, and we worked the case out to the mutual advantage of both our client and the insurance company without the necessity of a jury trial. And I should say this also in case people are concerned about going to court. First of all, we prepare every case, every single case, as if it's going to court for a trial. And the insurance companies know that, so they know that if we can't settle the case, they're going to face a good or better than good presentation of the evidence, including the injury, and the jury is likely to come back with a generous award. That's very important in negotiation, that you know whom you're dealing with and how you most effectively can get a result that's satisfactory or more than satisfactory.
And another thing that always impressed me about Joe is from day one, he prepares the clients to go to court. In other words, I know you told me you have them prepare a notebook. Like you should give them a notebook and right away keep track of how you feel every day and what you're doing, because a lot of these cases don't go to trial for 3 or 4 years later, and memory can be a problem when you go to court that much longer after an accident.
Well, that's a good point to recall, and I also should tell our viewers that 92% of personal injury cases in this state of New Jersey and in states throughout the country are settled before trial verdict. So that if you're prepared and you prepare your client and all of your witnesses, you're much more likely to get a good settlement without taking a chance on a jury making a mistake. But if you go before a jury because you can't settle for enough money, if you and your lawyer are properly prepared, are much more likely to get a favorable result from a jury verdict.
And you talked about fault earlier for an accident, but there's one type of case where fault is not a factor, as I understand it, and that is if you're hurt at work. Once you're hurt at work, you're basically entitled to get damages. I think they have to pay for your medical bills, your lost wages, and then you can get all this money for permanent disability, even if it's your fault. Am I correct?
Absolutely right. The workers' compensation courts are receptive to any kind of an injury that was caused while in the workplace or on the job. Now, it's also important to notice that there are differences in the workers' compensation system and in what we call the tort system, which is accidents not linked to the workplace. So, for example, in every workers' compensation case, every single case that comes to the door, we look into not only the workers' compensation aspect of it, but also we look at to see if there's a third-party claim there, so that if the injury is caused at work by someone who is not involved with the employer, then there could be two claims instead of one. And many lawyers miss the tort claim by failing to recognize or to investigate to determine if maybe somebody other than a co-worker caused the injury. So that while the injury was caused on the job and thereby justifying a workers' compensation claim, there may be another claim in addition to that, and that should be investigated. So these are reasons why you should go to an attorney who is not only experienced, but also, more importantly, someone who is imaginative and learned in the law and can get the best possible result for his clients.
I've come across a lot of clients that are afraid to sue their employer. They think they might lose their job or something like that. Is that something they should be concerned about?
No, because it's against the law to discharge somebody for making a workers' compensation claim. So don't worry about that. That cannot happen. And if that were to happen in an isolated case, I would represent that person for no fee, just to make sure that the law is followed.
Maybe we can discuss medical malpractice for a couple of minutes, because I know you have a lot of expertise in that. And what's the law on medical malpractice, and how can you help people that are victims of some kind of negligence by a doctor?
The standard of care in medical is what is the accepted medical standard of acting toward a patient. If the patient suffered injury or illness as a result of less than that standard, then there is a medical malpractice case. And every injury case should be investigated as to the possibility of the doctor not getting the result that it should have got for the injured patient. So most of them turn out not to be claims against the doctor, but you don't know. It may be hidden there through records that are obscured, or for some reason the doctor's negligence in handling the case is missed. Now, we had a case in here also last night in which a local doctor missed diagnosing a breast cancer and sent the woman home with well wishes and happy holidays. And I'm convinced that I'm going to find that this breast cancer was shown. It wasn't just a smudge on the film, on the mammogram film, but rather it was in fact an indication of a carcinoma or a cancer. So that it is important to choose a personal injury lawyer who is experienced in medicine as well as the law, because in medical malpractice, in fact, in most personal injury cases, you've got to have a knowledge of medicine as well as law in order to get the most money that is justified by the injury and how it occurred.
Why don't we quickly review, because our goal here is to help as many people as possible that are injured in an accident or have some kind of claim for personal injuries, either through medical malpractice or workers' compensation or any type of injury. We want to help, and we want to help you get everything you're legally entitled to. And that's why when you come to us, we're going to introduce you to Joe O'Neil, who's got many, many years of experience, who's one of the top attorneys rated throughout the state of New Jersey. He's been practicing in different states as well. I know you've been on TV shows. We've been on TV with.
Well, I've been interviewed by Geraldo Rivera, by Barbara Walters on 2020, Maury Povich, Avi Cohen of 48 Hours.
How about Jerry Springer? Were we on that?
I was not on Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
No, I haven't. But There have been a couple other ones whose names I don't recall now, but I've been on.
But Joe is very well respected, very well known. He's got tremendous experience, so that's why we're working together. So if you've got an injury from a car accident, if you've been hurt at work, if you think there's been some kind of medical malpractice, if you had a slip and fall case, we want to help you get the best results. So yes, I'm primarily known as a bankruptcy attorney, but over the years, I've got over 40 years experience now. I've tried a lot of personal injury cases as well, but you know, there's only so many things one person can do. So when you come to us for personal injury, yes, I'll be working on your case, but Joe will be the one that's working with us who's got the expertise, who's a certified civil trial attorney. What's that, Joe?
Well, that is a category of lawyers in New Jersey numbering 2,300 out of 68,000 practicing lawyers. Only 2,300 are board certified. You know, there's something else I think we should point out to our viewers, and that is that if you come to Mr. Wasserstrum with a case, you're not paying two lawyers, because if he sends the case to me, your case for example, then I pay him out of my share, which is not increased by Mr. Wasserstrum's working with me. So don't think you're paying two lawyers, you're only paying one lawyer.
Exactly, and no matter what lawyer you hire in a personal injury case in the state of New Jersey, the fee is generally 1/3, no matter who your lawyer is, right?
Exactly right. Whether it's an experienced, talented lawyer or a person who's handling his first or second personal injury case, you've got to examine the backgrounds of the people you're considering, and you owe it to yourself or your relative or your friend, whoever is the injured party. You owe it to yourself to get the best you can get, because you're more likely to get much more money that way.
Right. So again, we want to help you get the best result. That's why we're working together. I want to thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure. I hope we can get to do some more of these for our clients. And I want to thank the viewers for watching, and we want to help you. If you need our help, we're here for you. Thank you very much.